an editor has to be that person that keeps it moving, keeps you pushing towards that finish line, or else it doesn't get done. On Project Runway, they shot the whole season. Then they brought in story producers and a supervising story producer who went through the whole season and kind of like mapped out the episodes. I mean, of course, you already have challenges. There's a beginning, middle, and end to every show, but they kind of mapped out the stories, who we needed to focus on, and who, you know, like when you have 13 or 12 people, you can't focus on everybody. When I was working on it, was an hour and a half episode, so there were 3 editors, and we usually took on the same section of the show. Like I did openings and laying out the challenge and the first conflict or something like that. And you worked with the other 2 editors to figure out in your section how that would affect the other section. So I'm like, if I pull this story out, is that going to screw you in the in the deliberation at the end? You have to know story to do unscripted, and working in unscripted like helped me tremendously for working in scripted. Stella and we've worked together enough by now that I'll get stuff in and she's still on set and we're in editor's cut. I'm like, oh no, she's not gonna like that. She's not gonna like that. I'm like, oh, and you can tell from take 1 to take 4 or whatever, the little adjustments that were made. You're always usually trying to start with the last couple of takes because you figure that's where she got it to where she wanted it. But then you're always peppering in other things that you saw that you liked. You're going through takes over and over and over again, a lot of times just to find like the best pieces. I still watch all the dailies. I still take detailed notes on what I see. I still, make sure I note whenever I laugh or note whenever something's like, oh, and it hits me, because when you've seen it 1,000 times, you're not going to laugh at it anymore. I mean, some things I giggle at every single time I see it still to this day. But, you might not laugh or you might not tear up when you've seen it 1,000 times. So always writing that thing down. So, like in AFI, I used to, because it was a very small room, put Post-its on the wall, like right next to me, like, this is a moment where you laughed. So you could always reference that. One of my first jobs was on a show called Celebrity Poker Showdown, and it was cut together. They shot all those cameras, and they had a line cut, which is basically live cutting from camera to camera, but we cut it together. And it was always like, you have to let them speak a little bit and then cut to them to make it feel like a tennis match. Like, oh, I'm following it. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up. Especially in a theater, your eye does have to travel across that screen. So, you have the attention is on screen right, and you cut. It takes a little bit, a half a second for people's eyes to travel if they have to go to the other side of the screen. So you just have to be mindful of that. If someone is picking up a plate and you want to cut from the close-up of them picking up the plate to a different shot, then you would cut actually on the movement of picking up the plate. Not before, not right after, because the movement helps your eye travel, basically. Helps you cover that cut, especially if they're not picking up the exact same way. Pace is the biggest thing. Like, you're in comedy, you're cutting quick, people are talking on top of each other. In drama, you have looks, you have, blocking is sometimes a lot more complicated because blocking takes time, and, that blocking is an emotion, but a lot of the principles are the same. You want to see a change in a decision. You want to see that being made on camera. You want to see important lines, like important pieces of information. If you can, you get it on camera, because if you're seeing something and you're hearing something else, you're going to pay attention to what you're seeing. It's hard to hear. Any picture can go with any sound. So, you're always thinking of, like, if I need to ADR, if I need to go find a different line, if I, all these things are separate. That picture and sound effects, they're all separate elements, and you can blow them up and put them back together again to make it work the best way.